going on, Jetcast Nation? Welcome to episode 31. It's week 4 of the NFL season, and it's all going down the tubes at this point, as far as I'm concerned. Zach is not an NFL quarterback. I put a video out before with my thoughts on it. I've seen enough. I don't know about you, Ray, but we'll get to your opinion in a second. But he's not an NFL quarterback. He hasn't played any better than he has since his rookie season. He had plenty of time last week to throw the ball. I think he had 3.5 seconds. The O-line actually played really well. I'm happy with Tippmann, and we'll get to that. But at the end of the day, he's just not an NFL quarterback. Trevor Siemian, I don't think is going to move the needle much. So there's a lot of fans out there, including myself, that are starting to look at, draft position at this point, which we're kind of used to at this point. But it is really depressing with everything that happened and how we thought the season was going to, turn out.
I actually think Zach's got potential. No, I'm
Yeah,
scrolling with you. That's all.
I was about to stop the video on that one.
All the Jets Twitter, those Wilson fans are still out there like always. Let's just go over the cold hard facts, as they like to say. 18 of 36, 157 yards, 50% completion, and it looked worse than that. There were some plays he had all day to throw, and to make matters worse, when the announcer is like, throw the ball, check it down, because he's even nervous. He's like, oh, this guy's open, that guy's open. He's dissecting the play, and I understand it's from the booth, but Zach is just not an NFL quarterback, and people are still making excuses. I'm listening to Brandon Tierney. I'm so tired of the excuse of, well, it's not just Zach. Yes, it is.
Yeah, at this point it is.
A competent quarterback will make guys around him better, and this is how bad he is. Teams are stacking the box and leaving one-on-one to the offensive rookie of the year and Lazard, who's a 6'5" receiver, and that's not going to change. And here's the issue. The Jets still don't trust Wilson under those circumstances to throw the ball. I mean, it's completely affecting our run game. You're looking, Breece Hall, 12 carries, 18 yards. Dalvin Cook, 8 carries, 18 yards. Breece Hall averaged 1.5 yards a carry. That can never happen, ever.
Well, like I said, it's because they're stacking the box.
And I keep hearing people say, oh, well, this defense gave up 13 points. Yeah, 15-10, but they give up 13 points. Anytime your defense gives up 13 points to a Bill Belichick team, you have to win that game. You just have to. And I understand Zach looked good for one drive. He's done that 500 times, it feels like. It's not going to change. And you know what? I'm glad this is happening with Zach now rather than down the line, because we kept hearing Rodgers when he came into the year saying, well, Zach's going to sit for a year or two and then, and then he'll start after that. What? How many quarterbacks sit for 5 years and then start in the NFL and are successful? Yeah. They know if he's going to be successful, and I keep hearing the same excuse from beat writers that we have on our show. Well, in practice, he's showing that he understands it. He's connecting in practice, but he just can't put it together in a game yet, and that means
you can't do it.
Right. 22 games or 24 games he started in this league. And I put out a stat earlier this week. Go look at the last 3 weeks of his rookie season. Then go look at the first 3 weeks of this year. It's worse. And that means he hasn't progressed since the last half of his rookie season to year 3 with better weapons, with more experience, with more training camps, with a better run game. It's just unacceptable at this point. And unfortunately, I think the Jets are just going to ride or die with him. I don't think Trevor Siemian's going to be starting. Jet fans think they brought him in here to play. I don't think so. I think there's a reason why they didn't get the Matt Ryans, the Chad Henne, even though supposedly he said he didn't want to come here, or the Carson Wentz's, because they don't want someone to come in and put pressure on Zach.
Well, Carson Wentz, I think, has a locker room issue, and Joe Douglas knows that because he was there for that, right? Chad Henne, I think, they reached out to him. He didn't want to come, and Matt Ryan is happy, with his TV gig that he's got. The only person that potentially they could have gotten besides Trevor Siemian was, getting Nick Foles off the couch, possibly. That could have been a move that, we don't know. Maybe they did reach out to him.
You can't tell me he's not better than Zach. Zach
Trevor
for the
Siemian right
third
now.
straight.
Trevor Siemian is better than Zach
I agree.
Wilson,
and that's why he's not going to be playing because they don't want to pressure Zach.
Well, you know what? At this point, like, this is the NFL. Like, he deal with it.
It's going to cost Saleh his job eventually. Being
not
the
this
player's
year.
coach.
I
don't know. If they win 3 games this year, is he coming back?
I think so because you had Rodgers go down, right? The whole plan was I don't think the coach is going anywhere just because of the unforeseen Achilles.
I think it depends how this season ends. If we're getting utterly embarrassed, Woody Johnson is not the kind of owner to sit around and allow this. And that's the biggest unfortunate part about this is I want Rodgers here just like the next person, but he is going to hurt our franchise going forward because if Saleh's not the guy, which I think a lot of Jet fans are leaning towards, I think it's a 50-50 split. I'm not sold yet. And I think as we go throughout this season, I want to see the adjustments that Saleh makes and see if he progresses that way. But it's almost impossible to get rid of Saleh because you can't bring in an offensive-minded guy because Rodgers could just threaten to retire if you don't retain Hackett. So it eliminates half of the head coaches out there. So we could win 2 or 3 games and we might end up with Robert Saleh back here.
Here's the glass half full argument. Zach is in Jamarcus Russell territory now. He's right there with that guy's numbers. And when you're that bad, you make the coaches look extremely bad. The league average last year for points scored in a game was 23 points. Okay? If the Jets were able to do that and score at least 23 points a game, then in our last 18 games, going back to the year prior, we would have been 15-3. A bad quarterback makes everybody look bad, including the head coach. I think opinions of Saleh would be much different if there was a competent quarterback playing. And I don't know what I want to see at this point. Do I want to see Zach play it out, get a high draft pick, get a quarterback to sit behind Rodgers for at least 1 year? Or do I want to see them try and, do something with Trevor Siemian? Because he's way better.
Trevor Siemian.
But he's so much better than Zach.
And that's not saying much. Think about 3 weeks ago, we're saying Super Bowl. Now we're trying to win 3 games.
Well, that's what happens that's what happens when your Hall of Fame quarterback goes down 4 plays in. That's the situation that we're in. And yeah, they didn't bring in someone to legitimately back up Rodgers because they wanted Zach to watch Rodgers for the year. They wanted him to sit there and
they know how bad Zach is. They just do. He would look. I remember looking at him at camp both last couple of years. He's looked awful in camp. He looks worse than Tim Boyle in camp. It's just some things are never going to change. And one thing, and I like Joe Douglas, but one thing Jet fans want to give him a pass on, call him the messiah of all GMs. This draft pick that he made in Zach Wilson, number 2 overall, has cost this franchise majorly. Because, first of all, we win a meaningless game. What are you going to do about that at the end of the year? So we lose out on Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
We draft Zach Wilson, the guy who, what's he known for? We draft a kid that's known for throwing off his back foot where there's no defenders and throwing a big bomb to somebody down the field.
Out of the pocket.
We don't,
he's
right.
All of his highlights have never been in the pocket. It's always been running outside of the pocket.
But how many quarterbacks?
He's never stood there and just delivered the ball.
How many great quarterbacks are drafted because of their off off timing plays or
None.
rolling out of the pocket. You win from the pocket in the NFL. If you notice, that's what the Jets are doing. That's what Hackett's forcing him to do. Hackett's forcing him to stay in the pocket. And I'm sitting there counting Sunday, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3, all the way to 5. And then he takes a sack and it looks bad on the offensive line. So-and-so allowed a sack. It's like, this guy's got all day to throw. And I don't want to hear that there's nobody open. If there's nobody open, throw the ball away. Throw it in the dirt. Throw it at your checkdowns feet.
Ray, they were open.
People are breaking down the all 22. It's and that's why Garrett Wilson.
Here's the thing. I sat in the rain and I watched and I was there for the Patriots game, and my seats are kind of in the end zone. I can see the play developing, and everybody in those end zones can watch the play develop and can see who's going to be open. It's clear as day as to where the ball should be going. Nathaniel Hackett was calling a really good game in the first and second quarter. Zach was just not there. He was just missing it. And it was so unbelievably frustrating because you watch the play develop. You see they're in zone coverage. You see Garrett coming across. He's going to be wide open in a second. Everybody stands up, and he either checks it down or he takes a sack or throws it away. And it was just unbelievably frustrating. You had a minute and 40 left. You were on the 45-yard line. You were down 5. You can't ask for, and you had 2 timeouts. There's nothing more that you can ask for in the NFL. And he went 4 and out. And that was it. That was the end of the game. And not only on a 4th and 10, you threw a check down for 2 yards. It was a joke. It was an absolute
Why is that
joke.
even route being run? That's one thing you have to ask. And number 2.
But that's not where the ball was supposed to go. Lazard's wide open on the play. He's wide open.
But we're sitting here thinking like something's going to change. I mean,
nothing's going to change.
We could put this game in the rearview mirror, and then we have Kansas City we're looking at. I think there's a good chance the Jets hang around in the first half because it is defense, but I could see this being a 34-6 game. I just don't. Zach doesn't do it, and that's the one thing that we saw last week. Hackett could design the greatest play calling of all time.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have. Zach is such a one-read quarterback. And if his guy's not, even if he's open, he still misses them. That's the sad part about it.
So much so that he's not even looking in that direction. Like
you saw Tony Romo
his helmet. I'm watching his helmet, and he's not even making his way over to where the ball clearly needs to go. It's just it's a mess. It's a joke, and yeah, we're gonna get our teeth kicked in by Kansas City. There's no easy way to say it.
Gotta be looking at Denver.
It is what it is. It was going to be a tough game, even if we had Aaron Rodgers there. Mm-hmm. I can't believe we're in this position. I don't think Zach makes it past halftime. If he's playing the way he's been playing, at some point
they're not taking him out. He could throw 4 picks in the first quarter. Saleh is going. You know what it is? I almost feel, and I may be way off. I think Saleh's very comfortable. He knows he's not going anywhere after this year, and he's saying,
I think he's got that comfort.
He's going to do this.
Knows,
he's going to say, "Look, I can only go with the court. My defense has showed up. My defense gave up 13 points to Bill Belichick, and even though we haven't had a sack in 2 games, think about it. We have one of the highest paid defensive lines in the history of the NFL, and we don't have a sack in 2 games.
Because Carl Lawson's in the lineup, and he's not doing a goddamn thing. That's
why does McDonald have? What does he have? 6 snaps in the first 3 games. The 15th overall pick.
Carl Lawson needs to go. There, you watch the tape. He's got no burst off the line. He's not making any push on any any pressure on any of the tackles, and I think it's also play calling from the opposing team's offensive standpoint, where they're getting the ball out quick. I have seen that a lot. It's Josh Allen. That's
becoming the new NFL. Look at what the Dolphins are doing. Tua holds the ball for
it's
1.5
all timing.
seconds.
It's all timing now. And Zach left his clock in high school. It's I don't know. We're in this. We're in a position. Injuries happen.
It's so bad.
Injuries happen. And
yeah, but we always say in all of our spaces, Pat, The second most important position in all football is backup, and we have the guy who graded out as a dead worst quarterback in QBR the last 2 straight years backing up. The fact that Douglas didn't bring in a veteran, I don't look. If you don't dress Zach on game days, I wouldn't have cared. If he's not supposed to play anyways, you don't bring in a guy like Tim Boyle. You go and bring in or how about this? When Rodgers gets hurt, you bring in Simeon that week.
Right.
You don't bring him in 2 weeks later where he can't play for 2 more weeks. Think about it. Simeon could be playing this week. Not that we would beat Kansas City. But what I'm saying is he can't even play in Denver coming up. He's ineligible for that. He's not going to know the playbook. He's not going to know the cadence by then. It's just an overall disaster. It's like we had plan A with Rodgers, and if plan A didn't work, on to next season.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So you're hoping for a miracle and a prayer from Zach Wilson that's just not going to come. It's the move back when we drafted Zach, honestly, was to keep Sam Darnold and trade the pick away for a truckload.
Good. You would have got 3
I tell you right
picks.
now, I'd rather have Sam Darnold back on this team than Zach.
I'd rather have anybody.
He's better.
I'll take Cam Newton, the free agent.
Take anybody. Anybody. At this point. Anybody. Right. Strevler. Where's Strevler?
The only guy who can't throw a ball less than Zach.
Yeah. All right. So you got your halftime. We got our halftime space Sunday night.
Yep. If you want to come in on Twitter at JetCastPod, we have a ton of people that come in. If you want to come in event, then we'll have post game as well. Those are always eventful, to put it the least.
And as always, this podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use code JetCast at checkout and get $20 off your first purchase. We will see you after Kansas City. And honestly, I hope Zach doesn't make it through the game. I hope he's taken out. I know you don't think it's going to happen, but we can all pray that he's... my prediction has always been that he's going to be taken out by halftime, and he's never going to start for us again. That's what I hope happens. That's what should happen. That's what should happen.
He gets taken out is injury in my mind. I don't want him to get injured. I never want anybody to get injured, but for me in my mind, it's the only way he gets taken out.
Right, but the correct thing for the team is to get rid of him, because now they're talking about losing the locker room, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because the team knows, the players know, they know who Zach really is.
Yep.
So like I said, we'll see you guys after Kansas City.
That's right.
And go Jets.
I can't even say it.
You can't even say it this week. Oh boy.